Again, on Compensated Signs from my book Ciro DISCEPOLO'S blog part 7 by Ciro DISCEPOLO, Friday, February 10th, 2012. Marco Celada left a new comment on your post, Astrology Essays il posto delle fragole, Italian. Ciro, can you give us your correct definition of a compensated sign? Thanks. Marco. Yes, Marco, you can use the following explanation. I remind everyone that every single line of this blog, even if it appears on other web spaces, is subject to copyright and may not be reproduced elsewhere without my prior permission. Best regards, everyone. Compensated Signs. The 12 typologies you're about to read refer to the fundamental archetypes of each sign. The following pages explain a concept that is best reiterated here and brought to the reader's attention. Each sign is dotted with one or more key words, or refers to one or more basic symbols that can be experienced for what they represent or for their opposite. For example, one of Leo's key words is generosity, but this means that in everyday life you can find both exceptionally generous Leos and, conversely, absolutely selfish representatives of this sign. Practice will teach you to distinguish, and above all, a careful examination of all the values contained in a birth chart will lead you to the precise deciphering of the archetypes contained in a horoscope. Rather than signs, you should talk about axes and their dialectics in opposition. Indeed, one cannot speak of Cancer without bringing up the Capricornian rigidity that so often characterizes those born in the 4th sign of the zodiac. In other words, there is a compensation whereby a Virgo tends to behave more according to the values of a Pisces than for herself, and this applies to a greater or lesser extent to all signs. Therefore, carefully study the characteristics of each sign and its opposite, and learn to discover the behavioral similarities between them. You'll be convinced that there are Cancers and Capricorns who are extremely ambitious or extremely humble, Virgos and Pisces who are extremely orderly or extremely chaotic, Geminis and Sagittariuses who are extremely superficial or extremely profound, and so on. Thus, when it is said that the heart is a key organ of Leo, this should be understood both positively and negatively. This could mean, for example, for a Leo, that a very strong heart will save their life numerous times, only to be struck down by a heart attack. Be careful, then, to learn to read the contradictory dualism inherent in each sign, and to recognize the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde sides hidden in every 30 degrees. These two halves sometimes live separately at different stages of life, and other times even simultaneously. Thus, for Virgo, for example, we might experience a strong mental order, a constant tendency to catalog, schematize, set deadlines, and a corresponding physical disorder, poor space management in one's room or on one's desk, etc. The reason for this compensatory mechanism is not entirely clear, but we can advance a hypothesis. The individual senses that the fundamental prerogatives of their sign are also their greatest limitation, and does everything to behave in a manner contrary to their basic inclinations. However, I urge you not to trivialize what I just wrote by commenting, well, it's the law of yin and yang, which has always been known. No, it's something much more clear-cut. A balanced Libra won't act in an alternating current, a little like a Libra and a little like an Aries, but will be, in every aspect of their life, an unleashed fury, even blinded by a very strong subjective sense of justice, which will drive them to leave the house with a dagger in their mouth and ready to go to war many times throughout the day. Many have asked me over the past decades How an astrologer can tell whether someone is compensated or not. If he relies solely on the birth chart of the person being analyzed, he will have a hard time determining this. But if, knowing Robert or Julie's sun sign, he observes them for a few minutes with due attention, he can immediately tell whether they are of the classic or compensated type. Ciro, February 10th, 2012.